Hello, Cleveland County Sheriff's Office. This is Blake Green. I wanted to give you just a quick message on all the changes, all the promotions, transfers that have been going on. I want to be able to explain the why of what's going on. Just so you understand, we've brought in multiple lieutenants, captains, the chiefs, and we've gone over the different processes. So I'll kind of look at this board behind me. Join if you kind of pan and explain all the different changes that have occurred. You guys have felt those. You felt the effect of them. What I do want to bring your attention to, and everybody's seen this before, is our mission, vision, values. That is ultimately what we're trying to accomplish, is our mission, vision, values. Specifically, compassionate service. And when we talk about compassionate service, we outline that, we define that as putting others before ourselves. And so think about that for a second. Think about what that means to you, and think about what that means to us as a sheriff's office. That is our primary goal, our primary mission, that what we're trying to accomplish. With that, we've talked to all the different bosses, and one of the things we want to become, for lack of a better term, I'll use this as an example, the Chick-fil-A of sheriff's offices. When you go to Chick-fil-A and you say thank you, they say, my pleasure. Most of the time, it even looks like they mean it. And so we're looking for an opportunity to become that type of an image to our folks, to our citizens, especially in this difficult time, this difficult year, so that we can have that service attitude. Remember, we're public servants with a big S from our right training. We're looking to help other people. And so what we've done is we've gone around and we've matched up people's knowledge, skills, and abilities with different roles and functions in the agency. So there's a book called Good to Great, Jim Collins. One of the concepts in there to kind of bullet down to a nutshell is that great companies, not companies that were good for a little piece of time, but great companies, they lasted multiple generations. They had some things in common, and they had this one particular thing, this one analogy that's what we're kind of makes sense today, that you have to get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, but the hard part, and that's what we've been trying to working on this last 3 months, is getting the right people on the right seats on the bus. And that goes back to matching up your knowledge, skills, and abilities with the different parts of the job. So that's kind of an introduction to what we do. I want to explain how we actually work through that process, because we've gotten feedback that once the lieutenants and the captains and the chiefs come up here and actually look at what's going on, it made a lot more sense. Even our master sergeants, they explained, just this simple explanation really helped them process the change and understand the why behind the change. So I want to refer you back over here to this first white sheet. This is kind of how it started, was multiple pieces of white paper with sticky notes on it. We put down all the folks in the sheriff's office, the different positions. Now the difference what you see on the board versus this is that it had no names on it. And we had multiple discussions about what role goes with what position. And without any names, we all came to an agreement on what's the best place for this position, what's the best place for that position. And so without any names, that's how we came up with the structure that you see behind us on the board, the different chains of command, the way things are laid out currently. I'll give you some examples of that. We had, on this side represents admin operations over here on your right, and then over here on your left represents detention. And so what was occurring was we had 2 captains in detention with approximately 115 to 120 people, and we had 3 captains in admin operations, and they had 65 to 70 people. And so we were out of balance there. And so we looked at moving a captain from admin operations over to the detention side to get our span of control correct. Okay, so we looked at this captain number 3 spot right here in the middle and figured out that would be the best one to move over from admin operations to detention. We had the warrant ladies that work just outside of dispatch that work with transport, and transport moves prisoners around. We looked at the roles of the functions of the courthouse and how they were working back and forth together, and we figured out, hey, these groups have a similar operation, a similar function. And so we put them all under one chain of command. This way, we can do something called being a force multiplier. And so our courthouse deputies could serve the role of a transport deputy. Our transport deputy could serve the role of a courthouse deputy. And by doing that, putting it all under one captain, one chain of command, we're able to have a force multiplier of people being able to do more things. And so that's one example that we've used across the entire board to give you an example of functional things, functional changes. We made those across the board. The other one that's the biggest thing to talk about, and it's on me, is that when I first came on, I understand what span of control meant. Span of control is the ratio of line officers to supervisors. If you have a whole bunch of line officers to supervisors, the supervisors can't serve those line officers as well as they want to. There's not enough supervisor to go around. And so previously, we had seen that we had, and this is a detention example, we had one lieutenant, one sergeant, one corporal, and 25 detention officers. Well, that sounds okay when you say, well, there's 3 supervisors to 25 people. That's 1-to-8 ratio. But in reality, we had lieutenant talking to the sergeant, talking to the corporal, and the corporal was talking to 25 people. And that's following chain of command, but that wasn't a good use of our span of control. And so what we've done is we've changed it where we're going to have 3 sergeants on each shift. So you'll have a lieutenant, 3 sergeants, and then 24 detention officers. And what you're getting is a span of control of 1-to-8 instead of the previous 1-to-25. In addition, we're looking at making these, giving these opportunities for one of the sergeants to work the same day off shift. So you have a sergeant that's working hopefully at least 4 out of 5 days a week with their small group. And so that gets our span of control, so we have a supervisor that's able to serve a reasonable number of people. I've gotten a lot of feedback that says, hey, that kind of makes sense. It comes back to our National Incident Management System, Incident Command System. It's not something we just dreamed up. This is using a best practice that's national. And so this is going to help us with our accountability, with our ability to serve our line officers to get you the resources, the information that you need. During the right training, we talked to you about giving you the right training to make you a better person. We still believe that's the absolute case right here. What we've tried to do is match up each person with these different changes, with the different promotions, to number 1, make sure we're following our mission, vision, values, but number 2, to get your knowledge, skills, and abilities, your talents, your why, programmed as best we can with a function on the board. Were we perfect? I'm sure we were not. But I'm sure that we did our very best to try to get every person aligned to be the most productive portion of our team so that we can serve our citizens. So I want to come back and end with that piece right there, and back to our right training. Our ultimate goal is to be big S public servants for our citizens. Our ultimate goal should be that, especially in this time of this such difficult year, to get out of thinking about ourselves and start thinking about others. How can I give to somebody else? Back at Christmas time, when you're a kid, you love to get those gifts. But as you mature, you get older, you really start to understand that giving is better than receiving. So putting somebody else before ourselves. And that costs, in this specific instance, transfers. That's a new normal for us. We have to be willing to move to accommodate the needs of the agency, but not just for the agency's purpose, our why, is to serve, to transform lives, and we do that by putting others before ourselves. And so that's what I want to leave you with, and my challenge to you is a challenge that I try to live every day, is how can we better serve our citizens to be those peace officers that they need us to be in such trying times. I just want to tell you, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to talk to you today, to share this journey that we're on that's very, very challenging, but it's also a great opportunity. I encourage you to continue to stay positive, that you are what makes a difference, and you are the glue, you are the peacemaker that pulls both sides together. And when we start all pulling on the same rope and getting things in the right direction together, the most efficient way that we know how, then we're going to achieve our mission, our vision, and our values. Again, thank you for what you do.